So welcome to Miles and Minds, the runner study. Today I'm thrilled to welcome one of the most dominant and intriguing figures in the world of triathlon, Kristian Blummenfelt. Product of Bergen, you're one of the few triathletes to achieve elite success across both short course and long distance formats. So you won Olympic gold in Tokyo, claimed the Ironman World Championship titles in Kona. Of course, you've done your famous time of 6 hours and 44 minutes during the Sub 7 event, and plenty more wins that would be here all day listing. Kristian, you're just back from Ironman Texas, where you took the win. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's also good to be back home in Bergen after 2 months of traveling. So first we went a month up to Sierra Nevada to altitude, and had the worst condition ever on the camp there. It was basically snowed in for I guess we had maybe 5 or 7 good days of weather, or okay days with weather, and then the rest was just snowed in at center. So and then we went to Oceanside. Felt like the ship was going well there, but unfortunately had a puncture that sort of put me a little bit behind result-wise, but felt like the ship was going well, and stoked to take the win in Texas. Especially quite important with the Ironman Protocol series to get some good results over the full distance, because they can really do score a lot of points. So first one down, and 2 more Ironmans to go this year. I did with Frankfurt and Nice.
So in this episode, we'll explore your beginnings, the science behind your training, your recovery, etc. But first, I would like to go back to little Kristian's childhood. Like, how did you first get into sport in your life?
I think just naturally based that I was just had a lot of energy, so I just needed to get it out somehow, and started with doing swimming and playing football, and at I was just loving all kinds of sports. I was like a sports nerd, and loved swimming, biking, running, and I guess I was more naturally good on land than I was in the water. And one time, my swim coach advised me to maybe try something outside of the pool than inside, because he realized that I had a huge engine, and he also thought I was running pretty well for my age, not just to be a swimmer, but for being a runner as well. So he advised me to either do some open water competitions or triathlons, or something where I could really take advantage of my engine. And one of the events that he was putting on was a local triathlon out in Os, just outside of Bergen, back in 2008. And I signed up for that one and managed to take the win there, and was really falling in love. I was really falling in love with the sport already from the first try, and straight after that, we also started with the youth national team, because into that point we didn't really have any structure in our triathlon. There was no history, and there was the guy who started, Stein Gunnarsson. He had been traveling around with some athletes to the European Cups before, but I was more like some ex-runners, ex-cyclists who wanted to give triathlon a try, but they didn't really commit 100% from an early age. So he was always telling a story where he was bringing 3 guys to the European Cups and championships, and they were always the laps out of the race, or the best guy was barely making it into third back on the bike, and surviving there, and then running into last place. And how he was always taking off his Norwegian shirt throughout the race, because he was just embarrassed of what the athletes were performing. So he wanted them to start earlier, so he started with the youth national team, and he was scouting throughout the whole internet to find some local or Norwegian kids who wanted to do triathlon, and I was luckily to be one of 4 that he found back then. Not that the list was too high, but it wasn't many young kids who was doing triathlon back in Norway at that time, and that was the very beginning.
And there was this like egg philosophy of taking a lot of your kids and seeing which one are going to resist to of the training?
No, I don't think because we were very few. So I would say it was more opposite because we had so few athletes. We had to really be smart with the trading and do things better because we didn't really have much eggs to lose. So we were starting off with 4 eggs, and yeah, 10 to 15 years down the line, like you want to keep all of those 4 eggs, or if you can. But it's not typically like to keep like from 2011 when I started, or 2010, 2011 when I started trading with Casper and Gustav as well, and they were maybe a group of 3 out of a group of 15 or 20. It's still quite high percentage wise to keep them in the sport 10, 15 years later. So I would say we've been able to keep a very high percentage of the athletes that we were starting with back 15 years ago.
And did you do a lot of sprint triathlons at the beginning?
Not compared to what you're doing in France. Like in France, you're having the Grand Prix series, and you have a really good structure around the clubs where triathlon is almost like a proper sport. But when we grew up, we didn't have any draft legal races in Norway, so we had to do like sprint distance, non-draft, or even Olympic distance, non-draft. So we did a lot of non-draft races at home, and we had to sort of learn how to ride a bike in that way, because if not, you are struggling when you're racing at home. And so we had like the main focus were always to be trying to get quick in the water and quick on the run, but naturally also but stronger on the bike. And then we were traveling to like other countries to do draft legal races, and there was more like super sprint distance and sprint distance.
And today you're racing at different distances. And now, at which distance do you feel the best?
It's hard to say. Like, I love the Olympic distance and intensity there, and uh, the yeah, like there's something unique about the 2 hours duration of racing and intensity and aggressiveness you can have. But also, it's something special about the Ironman distance. Like, it's a long day for everyone, and it's like you're feeling the hype much more building towards race day. You feel more the nerves, and it's a different way of preparation. So I love both the Olympic side of the triathlon and also the longer, more historical part with the Ironman and what they have done. Like, it's something. Yeah, I think Ironman brought a lot of attention to the sport. The fact that it's so extreme, and it's like a distance that most people deep inside don't really believe they can complete it, but it's still, they think maybe 5% of them, if they dedicate like yeah, their whole life towards it, they might be able to make it. And uh, yeah, and to see like how people are preparing for it and getting out of the sort of the couch and getting back into trading just to see if they can complete it, and then to see that journey as well is cool.
Now I'd like to dive a bit deeper into your training. When we hear the people around you talk, it almost sounds like you don't produce any lactate at all. So I'm curious, is lactate a metric you actively use and take into account into your training?
Yeah, but I've been doing a lot of lactate testing, and I think the more volume you do as well, the more difficult it tends to be to producing lactate. So trying to both using it in terms of controlling the threshold sessions and staying spot on threshold, but also when I'm trying to prepare for like shorter races, I try to make sure that I'm still able to produce lactate, because it's not like you do a lactate measurement test after you cross the finish line. You still need to be able to have and you still need the body to be able to produce the energy in order to go quicker. So for me, I use it combined with also how I feel. Like, if I'm feeling great and producing like that might be fine. It's not always good to feeling like you're at an RP of 10 out of 10 and you're only having 2.5 in lactate, but you can't go any quicker. So it depends on how you want to twist your energy system. And but of course, when you're doing longer races like an Ironman, you want to be more uh, sort of tuned in for 7.5 hours of racing day. So then it's not that important to be able to produce that lactate, and it's not that important to be it's not that important to be able to run a 240 or 235 or 230 for the last K either. So it's more like about being sustainable.
And what other metrics do you base your training on? So you have the lactate, of course. Feeling is important. Do you use like a different zones of heart rate?
I don't use zones really. It's more like the points. Like I use typically LT1 and LT2 points on the heart rate. That's also varies a bit. So I combine that with feeling and the pace or the power that I'm using. And typically when I'm home and training in Bergen on conditions, cooler conditions, I don't look too much as an example on the core data. But when I'm like building towards a race like we're heading Texas, then I do more sessions where I'm really targeting the core data and trying to get like enough heat strain as an example. So then it's like blockwise where I'm looking more into that what information that one can give me. And the same with like with the master, like I can do blocks where I'm using with the master a little bit more, and then I can do blocks where I sort of have an idea of what the V2 will be based on the power they're producing.
Since November 2024, Olaf Alexander Bu has been the head coach of the cycling team Uno X Mobility. Is that right?
That's right.
Despite this new role, he still oversees your training and preparation. So what does he do now in your preparation?
So since then, both me, Gustav, and Kasper have been in charge of our own training. So we still have contact with Olav, like talking about other stuff, and we still have a great relation. But the training and the structure and the plans that we are doing is more based on what me and Gustav and Kasper thinks is the best way to go.
Mm, okay. And what's the dynamic like between you and the coaches you had? Do they dictate the sessions, or is it more of a collaborative process where your feedback and how you feel also shape the training?
Yeah, so I've always been both with when I worked with Ariel Tveiten and with Olav Alexander. It's been a very we've been collaborating about the training. Like they've been using the feedback that I've been giving them in order to reprogram what I'm doing. As example, when I started with Ariel 15 years ago, so back in 2010, 2011, he was living in a different city. So it was not like he was always seeing my training on a daily basis. It was more over email and getting like a weekly program. So in order to make that work, I had to be able to adjust the training and give feedback based on how I was feeling. And so we always had like this I'm been getting like a program, but I've always been like getting like I've always had like a voice in the program where I can sort of give feedback and tell them what I want to do.
Also, you've been reported to have one of the highest VO2 max levels ever recorded. Can you share the actual number with us?
Yeah, I think it's already been shared. Like I think I had 96 or 97 divided or like milligrams per kilograms, and total volume was like 7,800 milliliters. So I was, I think, like 80 or 81 kilos during the test. So it was like 97, I think, milliliters per kilograms.
And after a race like the one you just did, does it drop significantly or?
Yeah. So based on the training you're doing, it's tend to drop. So especially or typically when you're going into like an Ironman block, it tends to drop. So that was something we will try to lift up a little bit now, going into Action Provence in 2 weeks' time, and also going into Frankfurt again. So we will not only do Ironman specific training this year, but we will do some threshold blocks and some a little bit more VO2 max focused training. There's not all about getting as high VO2 max as possible. As an example, I was probably going into Tokyo with 84, 85 in VO2 max, and then I won that race. And then I came into Paris, or like 6 or 8 months before Paris, I was coming in with 97, and I lost that race. So it's not about having the highest VO2 max, it's about winning on race day.
To give an idea to our listeners, what does a typical training week look like for you?
So now it's typically we start off with resting. So Monday is a rest day. Important to start fresh. The rest day is typically an easy swim, 4K, and then an easy run, maybe 60 minutes, and a little bit of gym and mobility work. And then it's when Tuesday, which is some threshold in the pool, and some VO2 max on the bike, and then easy run. And then Wednesday is a long day in all disciplines, maybe 5.5, 6Ks in the pool, and between 60 and 90 minutes on the run, and 2 to 4 hours on the bike. And Thursday is track Thursday, starting off with some intervals on the track, on the run. I always enjoy doing that first thing in the morning. And then we've been typically going to the pool, having a little bit of speed, but more like an easier recovery session with some faster 50s and 100s, more for the technique focus. And then like 90 minutes of recovery bike in the evening. And then Friday, again, resting before the weekend. So a little bit the same as we are doing on Mondays, easy day, short. And then Saturday, it's more race pace in the pool with either 3 hours, 3.5 hour run in the mountains, or with a shorter run and 2 to 3 hours on the bike. And then Sunday is our day free from the pool, but then we are typically doing a break, either a break, so we're doing it straight away, or we might do like some intervals in the morning, and then doing the either bike run in the morning and then the opposite in the evening with a rest in between.
Okay. Yeah, okay, it's impressive. In comparison, we know that a lot of beginners, when they begin to train for triathlon, they want to do a lot like the professionals. What advice would you give to a triathlon beginner when it comes to weekly training frequency and for each discipline and managing intensity?
I think you need to have the idea that there's no point to do more training that you can absorb. So you need to make sure that you're always like feeling that your body is adapting to the training. So if I would suddenly have been adding on 10 more hours, I would feel from after maybe, to look at as a 1 week perspective, like you're just getting more and more tired, and you're actually getting slower and slower in training, rather than feeling that you're getting quicker by the training you did yesterday and the training you did 7 days ago. So you need to make sure that you're sort of balancing that. So if every week is sort of feeling that you're responding in a positive direction. And that's like a difficult line, especially if you're going to a training camp where the plan is to train a lot of volume. Then you might feel that after 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, you might feel like quite fatigued. But as long as that's a part of the plan, you also then you can also like bring in like a little bit easier week afterwards, and make sure that you're responding on the training you did for that whole month. And if you don't respond by having a week off, you might maybe overdoing it a little bit.
Okay. And to come back a bit on your last race, I know you work a lot on keeping your body temperature at a certain level. You've just come back from Texas, where you finished first. How did you adapt to the heat there?
Yes, we traveled straight from Oceanside. So Oceanside was 3 weeks before Texas. So we went straight into the woodlands to get 3 weeks in the heat and humidity there. So we just tried to do all for trading in the condition that we were facing on race day, and we had some race simulation sessions both the week before and 2 weeks before, trying to get used to the heat and the humidity, and trying to be aware of how the core temperature were, how was the skin temperature, and what was the heat index for the sections that we were doing, and trying to use those numbers in order to find like a race pace that we thought was realistic for race day.
And during your training blocks, we can see it on like Strava, on your video YouTube, or even on your stories in Texas. We often see you surrounded by other athletes when you train. Do you feel like you train better when you are in a group?
Yeah, I feel like I both train good by myself, but it's definitely more social and it's a better learning to train with other athletes. And like in my daily training, I'm surrounded by both Gustav, Eden, and Kasper Stornes, two of the best triathletes in the world. And to be able to pick up like some small learnings from them on a daily basis is definitely makes it easier for me to improve. And yeah, I can learn from the best of the best. And also, like we had a session in the woodlands together with Robert Kalin, who is one of the strongest cyclists in the sport. And yeah, just to be able to also to both do sessions together with other athletes, but also like talk about the training and share a little bit of experience is a good way to yeah, improve, keep improving.
And so where you are like a week before the race, you're in a big prep phase. What does your diet look like, and what are the things that you strictly have to avoid?
Typically, I avoid like chocolate milk and stuff like that for the last few days, and going into like a full distance race, especially 2 days before the race, you start carb loading. You try to stay high on like be well balanced in terms of hydration and getting a lot of liquid in, but then you try to both get a lot of good sources of carbohydrates, so like good rice, pasta, and less vegetables, so it takes less space in the stomach with food that is low calorie density, and focusing more on the carbs, less fats in the diet as well. I feel if I get too much fat, it goes straight into the bloodstream, and so more just pure carbs. And then also the day before the race, the volume is normally very, very low, so it's not like I need to uh, uh, overeat in order to uh, carb load, simply because the volume is less, and I'm still sort of, I can just eat almost as normal, and it's still going to be in plus. So there's more about getting into the good day rhythm, avoiding a little bit more caffeine the last 5 or 6 days, both in order to get like that extra boost on race day, but also to help to switch the time zone a little bit more, because I feel it's important to start moving the sort of the time you're waking up in the morning closer and closer to when I'm going to wake up on the race day. So we tried maybe already 10 days out from the race to move it back to like from 6:30 to 6 to 5:45 to 5. So it's not like a complete shock for the body to wake up 4 o'clock, both in order to be able to get a good night of sleep, but also in order to get the stomach going in the morning. Because if I suddenly wake up 3 hours before my stomach is scheduled to, then I'm not able to go to toilet before race morning. So that was important.
And once you are in the race, how do you manage your fueling strategy?
Then it basically goes quite naturally. Like it goes by, in one way, by feel, and I know that, as an example, I need to empty the bladder I'm having inside the bike frame before 2 hours mark. Then I'm on schedule to get all the carbs I need until the 90K mark, and then I have 2 bottles behind the saddle that I need to get or like spread out for the second 2 hours of the bike course. And then also I'm just adding on, grabbing whatever I feel I need in the aid station in terms of water, and I'm feeling, if I drink by feel, it's typically enough volume of liquid, like. And then on the run, I was also having 2 bottles of open 7 liters, one that I was bringing from T2 and one that I was grabbing from the run special needs on lap 2. So that was like about the halfway mark on the run. And in each of those bottles, I had 2 package of Morton 320. So that's just in those 2, it's 160 grams in each bottle. And then I was also taking 2 gels on course. So it's very, very high on carbs on race day. And it's just like you know that when you're grabbing a bottle and that's a plan, then you just finish it. It's not like you're questioning like whether if you should finish the bottle or not. You just know that you better drink it now, because if not, you will struggle in 1 hour time.
Okay. And during the race last week, at the beginning of the run, there's that moment when you overtake Cameron Worth, and we see you exchange a few words. What do athletes usually say to each other in moments like that mid-race? Are they words of encouragement?
It depends on who you're passing and what they said before. So when he caught up on the bike, he was like, as he was like in the TT position passing us, he was like saying, "Got you, motherfucker!" So then I just told him back, "Caught you." No, I got you. Up there.
Okay.
Something like that.
And do you get into a specific mindset before and during the race? Like I know some athletes, for example, repeat certain phrases to themselves. Is that something you do or no?
Not really. Like I just try to, just of course, like when you're standing there on race morning, you just try to make sure that you're focused and you're ready to go and I've warmed up well and both feeling relaxed but also ready to go. But it's not like I need to sing a song or yeah. It depends from race to race.
Okay. And so now let's talk about like bouncing back from tough moments. How do you deal with losses? Like you lost one race, for example. How you deal with that, with the doubt, for example?
Well, I think after a poor race, you just try to understand what went wrong, and typically looking through all the splits, the data, looking at the trading you did going into the race, looking to the data you did after the race, and trying to maybe write down some notes what you think you could have done differently in the build up. If it was mistakes on race day, as an example, or like you're just trying to do all of those things, and then you just have to try to do it differently next time around. So in one way, you just try to get over with the race. You try to get like out of mind as quickly as possible and just move forward. But it's still weeks afterwards. It's still like there back on your mind, back of your mind, and makes you rethink everything you've done. And it's like difficult in one way because you never get like the sort of the facts, or like you never know for sure what went wrong. You can have an idea, you can sort of guess, and you can try to read it a little bit differently next time around.
At the beginning, we talked a bit about rest and recovery after Texas, like you're right now. How much time do you dedicate to rest?
So I'm doing like typically the first week is easier after a race like that. But then you need to balance it. And I think if you're feeling sharp, you can start doing intervals already, 5 or 6 days, or even before afterwards. But you typically listen a little bit more to your body. Like I'm probably going to do some intervals in the water tomorrow and on the track as well, just to wake up a little bit. And then you sort of take it from there on. Like it's not like I need to hit the target splits from 3 months ago when I'm going back to the track tomorrow. It's a little bit more like I'm using a session to get back into the rhythm again as well. So you might go a little bit more progressive. You might have a little bit more like a feel good session, and you might cut it short after 8K instead of 12K as an example of intervals.
Okay. And what do you pay the most attention to? Is it like sleep, for example?
Yeah, sleep is one thing, and been sleeping quite well now for the last 3 days. But it's more like how the overall feeling is, and so of how the arms and the legs is responding when I'm picking up the intensity, and also looking at how the heart rate is. Even though the heart rate might be telling you one thing, if you're too rested, it might be a little bit higher than usual, and then if you do a little bit more solid warm up, or maybe going halfway through the set, it's stabilizing a little bit more.
2 days ago, we had the news that Ironman World Championships will return to a single day of racing for both men and women in Kona for 2026. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a very smart decision. Of course, the best scenario would have been having 2 days of racing and giving the female their own day so they can. Yeah, I think it's they get more attention if it's a bit like it is in the 70.3 World Championship where they're having their own complete day. But when that's not an option, it was difficult for I guess the community when you're having two different groups who is either targeting one race in Europe or one race in all the way in Hawaii, and also with how important Hawaii has been for the sport. I think it's a clever decision to bring it back to Kona. Even though, as a professional, I love the challenge and experience by going to different venues. And Nice, as an example, is maybe a better World Championship course in one way. And it's also a historical place for the sport. And it's like it's challenging in one way on the bike with the climbing and in descending, but also the wind condition and the heat and humidity is putting a different demand on the body in Kona. So it's it's a difficult one, but at least it just means that this is my last opportunity to race a world championship on the Ironman distance outside of Hawaii. So I'm just trying to do whatever I can now and be ready for this.
I've said it in the introduction. A few years back, there was the Sub 7 project where you finished in an incredible 6 hours and 44 minutes. Is that something you'd want to attempt again?
Uh, no, it was a really cool project to be a part of back then. And I feel it was a bit more, it's something he did during the pandemic. Like, Jan did his Tri Battle Royale, where it was a little bit more like trying to go fast. It's over the distance. You can't really race against too many other athletes. So it's more like trying to have some motivation for your training still. And then also you have had like some fast races, both in Challenge Roth and Texas was fast and Cozumel was fast. But for me, it's more important to win the World Championship titles now. So I want to win the World Championship title in Nice, and I also really want to win a World Championship title in Kona, Hawaii. So it's more the battle against the other athletes. And I want to race Sam Lado again when he's completely recovered and fit for fights, and the same with Magnus Ditlev. Uh, because it's not about going as fast as possible on race day. It's about being the first one to cross the finish line. And in order to do that, you need to raise your competitors in a with a good strategy.
You were at the Olympics in Paris last summer. First, did you still like your experience there?
I think if you look away from the fact that I had no control over the water and the bacteria is there, and it was a nice venue. I think it was cool to have a river swim where it is a little bit like you're bringing on cobbles on a bike horse. When you're having a river swim, it's a little bit different strategy, and it might be better for like the better swimmers. The fact that they can use sort of the currents both on the way up and on the way down, and I think that was cool. Just unfortunately, I didn't have control over this venue in terms of safety and the bacteria, and then the bike course on paper was seems to be more uh, boring than it was actually ending up being. And as always, like the French people, they know how to support great events. Like they love the sports, and they're always creating this insane atmosphere around the courses. And it's a bit like same with the French Grand Prix races, even though it's very small, locally organized races around France. It's always a great atmosphere around the course, and um, yeah, definitely like an iconic place to finish, just next to the Eiffel Tower. And yeah, it was just a bummer that I wasn't able to perform better on not just race day, but like the whole race season.
Mm. And are the next games already a target for you?
No, I have decided if I'm going for LA or not.
Okay. And have you ever thought about like trying other type of races, like running only events, for example, or even other formats of triathlon, like Norseman, Enduroman?
No, like because from a very young age, it was all about the Olympics and trying to get into that. And then from there on, I went into the Ironman distance, and I feel it's been enough challenging so far by switching back and forth from the very short distance to the very long distance and backing into the very short distance. And I guess doing sort of extreme triathlon is very much the same as doing an Ironman. If you do like if you look away from the temperature in Eiffel, it's still it's still you're sort of having the same challenge in by racing Nice, like a big climb on the bike, and it's the same distance, maybe a little bit warmer in Nice, and you're having sort of the same running until the 25K mark, but then you're having 15K or something of a big uh, climb. But of course, Norseman is definitely on the bucket list. I think all, not just Norwegian triathletes, but all of triathletes worldwide know about that event, and that's like a race they all want to tick off. But I feel for now, as I can't do too many Ironman races through the season, simply because the recovery time is so long, I feel I have to pick the races where there's like a world, like what the best of the best are turning up.
So you're from Bergen. We just said it. There are a lot of elite athletes from Bergen. We talked about Gustav Iden, for example. What's special about Bergen?
It's a beautiful place. It's hilly, it's mountains, it's nature, and I think most of our training we just do it not because of the great weather, but simply because we enjoy being out in the nature, and I guess also because of the temperature, you just need to keep going in order to stay warm for most of the training. So it's a great condition for doing endurance training.
So do you think there's a special mentality here?
I think it's more you need to find like a good group that's sort of working together. And I think you can create this group dynamic wherever you are in the world. You just need to be like a group who's collaborating and helping each other out.
Mm. So we are getting closer to the end, but we still have a few questions. What is the most memorable race you've ever competed in, and why?
Oof, it's many. It's like obviously Tokyo was one race. It was a 10-year project going into that race, and also Bermuda 2018. It's something special when you feel you're surprising the whole triathlon world and taking 1, 2, 3 together with two guys from the same town, and yeah, I guess those two maybe, and also maybe I felt coming to Nice in 2019. It was such a beautiful course, such a beautiful atmosphere, and that was also like a race I felt like I felt sort of like that I missed the opportunity of winning in Nice. That was also great, the fact that it's coming back again.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to get into triathlon?
you have to, if you want to go into triathlon, you have to love the training. You have to enjoy, being out there and getting the job done. You can't just enjoy race days and being on top of the podium. You really need to love the hours of training, and in order to enjoy it as much as possible, I would definitely advise you to try to pair up with like a group of friends and do the training together, and keep enjoying it.
And what are your next goals and challenges for this year?
Yeah, so the big goal or main goal this year is to win Nice and take the title there, and then the second one is to win Marbella to take the half title there, and then the third one is to win the Ironman Pro Series. So I guess if I do well in Nice and did well in Frankfurt, that's going to put me in a pretty good position for the Ironman Pro Series.
Okay, so we'll be following you for the rest of the year then. We have the follower question that we choose every podcast. The question is from Mile. What is it about your practice that makes you happy?
Well, I think it's just something I do in one way. It's not like uh, and the feeling of feeling strong and nailing the sessions, and I can feel them enjoying both the beginning of the session and the end of the session. Like if I go to a track, and I don't know, maybe just the feeling of having done a great piece of work.
Mm. And we have the last question from Christian. What are you doing when you're resting, like without training? Are you watching TV? Are you?
Yes, normally I'm just laying in the couch and listening to podcasts or trying to have like a power nap, just resting until the next session. So I don't do too much, or maybe even just booking plane tickets or organizing or cleaning, doing laundry, those kinds of stuff.
You must have a lot of points on the plane company to buy a few tickets.
Actually, I just got like a envelope from the got just got this one mailbox lifetime gold. They're flying enough to get a lifetime gold membership. So that was a big goal.
Plane companies love you. Thank you, Christian. Thank you for giving us some of your time. I know you're busy. I hope we're good in time with the other podcasts.
Thank you so much. Now I'm jumping on to the Ironman podcast in a few minutes. Thank you.